Hello and good morning. It's Phil Thatch, and once again, I'm out here in the back porch blind. Today, I'm shooting with my Nikon Z50, the old APS-C Z series camera, the original APS-C Z series camera, and I've got the 180 to 600 on there. And I like this combination. It's pretty good. The biggest problem is the battery is terrible. And of course, it doesn't have eye detect autofocus, but I can just use single point and that works fine. Doesn't really bother me that much. Of course, like most people, I'm hoping that they make a really pro quality DX Z mount camera. But I'm fearful that what they're actually going to do is make a Z50 II, which that would be fine. Another Z50 would be fine. Put some better autofocus in it, update it, all that sort of thing, maybe even a faster sensor. But my biggest problem is if it still has the Z50 battery, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can invest in another camera that has such a terrible battery. I'd really rather have a Z70 or a Z90, just a little bit bigger so it has room for the battery that goes in the Z6 and Z7 type cameras, and even Z8. And D500, for example, also uses that size battery, and those are great. I mean, they're not as great as the Sony Z battery. That's probably the best battery of that size right now. But this battery in the Z50 and ZFC and Z30, it's just not good. And other than that, I really enjoy shooting the Z50. So I'm out here in the blind, and so far, the only bird that's come up and landed on my perches was probably maybe the best bird I could imagine coming today, and that was a male downy woodpecker. So I definitely got a shot of that, and hopefully I'll get some more stuff. But in the meantime, let's take a look at that downy woodpecker. Here's the downy woodpecker male right there on my stump perch. It's got a little seed out of the top where I have it hollowed out. This is 230 millimeters, this shot. 1/500th, wide open at 5.6, and ISO 180. I was using automatic ISO, and I'm happy with this shot. I just had a number of visitors stop by. First, there was a tufted titmouse. Here is the tufted titmouse, and I'm happy to say that it has its tuft poking up, which I love that. It's on my angled perch. This is 300 millimeters, 1/500th, wide open at f6, and ISO 125, and I got another shot of it with the exact same settings on the same perch, just slightly different. I think this one's the best because the tuft is poking up where this one is not. Next up was a northern cardinal, either a juvenile or a female. I'm not 100% sure. This is the female northern cardinal, and she's on the perch that the titmouse was on, except for the titmouse was up here on the angled part, and she's down here on the flat part. I loved her tuft poking as high as I've ever seen a cardinal's tuft sticking up. And I'm not sure if she's a fully mature female or if she's an immature female, but this is another 300 millimeter shot wide open at f6, 1/500th of a second, and ISO 160. And last, but probably least, a mourning dove. Here's a mourning dove on the same perch that the cardinal was on, and this is 220 millimeters, 1/1600th of a second, f5.6, wide open, and ISO 450. Now this is the mourning dove that had flown back to the Leland cypress much further away. The last shot I have of the mourning dove was 220 millimeters. This one's 390, still not using all of the lens. And I've got some flowers on the back porch that mostly kind of died while Heather and I were out of town in Las Vegas and Anaheim because I wasn't home to water them every day. But that is what this weird color is in the foreground. And this is 390 millimeters, 1/1600th, wide open at f6 and 800 ISO. Here's a scraggly looking female northern cardinal, or possibly immature male northern cardinal in the Leland cypress. This is 1/1600th, 520 millimeters, wide open at 6.3, and ISO 1100. And it has some foreground problems with the flowers on the porch. Really, I should get rid of them because they're basically half dead and don't look that good anymore. I need some sort of automatic watering system while we're out of town. Next year, we're going to Spokane, Washington in July, so
that should be fun, but I hope the flowers survive next year.
I've had some more visitors since I spoke to you last. The first one was a male northern cardinal. I'm not sure I got a decent shot of it. And then I saw what I believe is probably a phoebe. It was further back. It was in the Leland cypress perch that's probably 25 feet away, or maybe even more, instead of my 10-foot away perches that are right here on the porch. And I don't know, it almost looks like something besides a phoebe, but I'm pretty sure it's a phoebe. And then I got a female red-bellied woodpecker, so that was another highlight of the morning. I'm always happy to see a woodpecker.
This is the adult male northern cardinal. This is on one of the perches on the back porch, one of my favorite perches, but I haven't gotten a shot of a bird here in a while. This one is pretty close to sharp, but not completely. I think I may have had my focus point here, and that's the difference between a camera with bird eye detect autofocus and a camera without it. But I do love the colors of the male northern cardinal. This is 230 millimeters, 1/640th, wide open at 5.6, and ISO 280. I put the bird seed out for the birds, but it's these chipmunks that get the most of it, and this little cutie was photographed at 230 millimeters, 1/640th of a second, wide open at 5.6, and ISO 450. Here's the eastern phoebe in the Leland cypress, and it too has some foreground problems. I'm shooting through some dead flowers, and this is 600 millimeters, 1/2000th, wide open at 6.3, and ISO 270. I got to get rid of those flowers. They're messing up my photography. This little cutie is an immature male northern cardinal, very scraggly looking, and you can see it has some of the female colored feathers, but its male colored feathers are starting to grow in. And I got this shot of it at 270 millimeters, 1/2000th, f5.6, and ISO 1000. And then I also got this shot of it. I slowed my shutter speed down to 1/500th. And this is 230 millimeters, wide open at 5.6, and ISO 500. I just love the weird colors of an immature male northern cardinal. It's kind of similar to the colors you'll see on an immature male summer tanager. And this is probably my favorite photograph of the day. It's the female red-bellied woodpecker. There on my other angled perch, just out of frame, is the suet feeder, where she had come to visit, but I love it when they land away from the feeder and then kind of make their way there, because it gives me a chance to make a photograph of the birds without the feeder in the shot. This is 210 millimeters, 1/1000th, f5.6, and ISO 280 of the beautiful female red-bellied woodpecker.
I've been out here for about an hour and a half, and this is the best the Z50 battery has performed in a long time. I'm at a third on the battery. The camera's been on basically the entire time. And usually this battery will show you full strength, and then it'll go straight to change batteries, red, red, red. But today it is acting nicely. Maybe it heard me talk about how I wouldn't buy a Z52 if it had this battery, and it decided to work well. But I don't know. Usually it doesn't do very good. One thing's different though is I took it straight off the charger. Usually I have it in the camera already 100% charged, and it might be in there for a few days before I go out shooting, and I turn the camera on and say, oh look, full battery, and I go. But today this battery was sitting in the charger. So I guess it was as full can be. So maybe that's something I should do, is just work with a battery right out of the charger instead of have a fully charged battery in the camera and ready to go. So that's going to do it for me today. I decided I was just going to stay out here until about 9 or so in the morning. I've got some other stuff I need to do. I want to hang out with Heather, chiefly among those things. So I'm going to call it a day. I appreciate you watching. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see some more stuff like this, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.